Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahi wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum everyone, and peace be upon you. Thank you for bringing your heart today. I always like to thank, I like to start my talks by thanking people for bringing their hearts, because that's the most important aspect of yourself that you can bring to any space. If you come with just your mind, then you walk away with a mind that is full, right? But if you come with your heart and your priority is your heart, you walk away with a heart, not just a mind that is full, but a heart that is fuller, inshallah. So I hope that, inshallah, this conference is a means to making all our hearts walk away fuller, more nourished, more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These spaces are really sacred, and I'm very happy to be here with you, alhamdulillah. So this topic of Muslim identity is a topic that I'm sure many of us have heard over and over again, right? This topic is very important in our times today for valid reasons. And it's a topic that, keeps coming up because the harms of not having a strong Muslim identity are great and vast. And we're seeing the harms of that. As a psychologist, I see the harms of that, especially with the youth. But also now with, many of the, Muslim adults and in older populations as well, is that, there seems to be a disconnect between what we know is true and us feeling that sense of honor and strength and pride, and also ability to walk this earth, grounded, in the times that we live in. And this is the struggle. This is a struggle that we're all going to have until the day that we leave this earth. Is how can we stay true to the values that we know are true, to the beliefs that we have claimed are true, that we have claimed to believe in, right? And walking in accordance with those values and beliefs. And so it's very important, though, that we begin talking about the concept of Muslim identity in a broader lens. Because I find that it's a little bit problematic when every time we talk about Muslim identity, we only talk about it in terms of, how we want to present ourselves. And I actually find that this approach is what's keeping us from making true transformation and changes. And so for me, what I like to do is I like to look at the psychology I like to look at our spiritual problems through a psychological lens. Meaning, I like to see what are the struggles that we're going through spiritually, and I like to see what are the mental and emotional obstacles that come between us and rectifying those struggles and walking towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think when it comes to Muslim identity, what I find is that there is this disconnect between what our mind knows is true, because you see, your mind can have awareness. You can have awareness about what beliefs are true. If I asked you who you are, you will say, I'm Muslim, right? That's something you know. Now, there's a difference between knowing on a mental level who you are and then feeling and experiencing that beauty, that honor, that strength because of what you know. There's the difference between those two realms being connected, the mental experience and the spiritual and the heart experience, and, and them being disconnected. And so what I want to talk to you about today is, basically I want to get you to renew the lens in which you've been viewing yourself, who you are. Because that's what identity is. In psychology, identity is all the aspects that make up who you are. Your beliefs, your practices, your personality, your values. So today, I hope to challenge you to just shift the lens in which you've been viewing yourself and dig deeper. So with that, I want to kind of bring to your attention a few points before I give you 3 steps that I would love for you to keep in mind moving forward when it comes to, walking this earth firmly, right? And having that sense of pride and honor as Muslims. And that is, when we approach the concept of Muslim identity, I want us to shift away from focusing on it as something simply that we have to present to the world. And I get it. There's a lot of pressure out there, right? I mean, the world and, society is constantly influencing us to be very conscious, more conscious of what we present to the world over what? Our internal experience. And so, especially as Muslims, right? We always want to make sure as a community we present our best foot forward. But aside from just our experience as Muslims, there's the whole influence of social media and the internet, right? There's this constant emphasis on present your best, the most perfect version of yourself, right? And that influence is there, and we have to recognize the reality of it. But it seeps its way into the way that we approach our spiritual struggles. So when it comes to Muslim identity, what do? We start with what is outward rather than what is inward. We start with how we present ourselves to others rather than how am I presenting myself to God and to myself. And so I find what's problematic about our approach is that we're going outward to inward, but with change, with transformation, no change can happen that way. No true, long-lasting change can ever happen by going outward to inward. You have to start inward. And we know this from the Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the condition of a people until what? They change what is in themselves. And so I want us to shift away from focusing on when you think of Muslim identity, I don't want the first thing that comes to our head as, how am I presenting myself? Because in all of our minds, we have this image of what it means to be a Muslim. But today I want to challenge you to dig deeper and to think about how you've been viewing yourself. What does it mean to be a Muslim? For you to strengthen your Muslim identity, it comes from you living in line with your truths. You see, I don't think that the direct goal is I want to strengthen my Muslim identity. The goal is I want to live in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's truths, and the natural result is that your Muslim identity is strong. And so, shifting the focus, turning inward, prioritizing the internal experience, your experience that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees over what? What the people see. So this topic then does not just affect our youth. It affects every single person in this room, including myself. Because till the day we die, that is exactly what we have to do. We have to prioritize our experience with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over what? Our experience with the people. We have to prioritize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seeing us over what? The people seeing us. And so, when we begin to know what our truths are, when we begin to live by those truths, and that becomes our priority, naturally, you live those truths. That is what's transformational. In psychology, they say that, in the psychology of learning, they say that people learn the most from what is modeled. And you see this in, children, when you study the psychology of children, is that they learn most from their parents by watching what they do rather than what their parents tell them. Right? So what does that mean? What are actions? Actions are the natural expressions of the truth in the heart. So a parent might say something to a child, but if that's not the truth they're living by, it'll show in their actions. In the end, the child will follow what the parent is exemplifying rather than what the parent is saying. But that is why, look at the power of the psychology of learning. That is why we have the prophetic example, sallallahu alaihi wasallam.